Hey guys, welcome to another video. I really appreciate you joining today. Today I want to do my full review on the Altra Torin 6. A few months ago I did my initial unboxing and my first run impressions. I always want to wait till I get 50-60 miles before I do my full review, and I now have a little over 60 miles in these shoes. I actually, in that first pair, I got them to 39 miles and the rubber started coming off the front. It ended up, it was a manufacturing defect where they didn't glue them down right. I contacted Altra. I was able to return those shoes and they sent me a replacement pair. So I started over. So these shoes now have a little over 60 miles. So really my experience is over 100 miles in the Torin 6s. Between the first pair that I returned and these. So I've put over 100 miles in the Torin 6s. The longest run I've done in them is probably about 12 miles. I haven't been running a lot of real long distances this summer anyway, but I have a real good, I feel pretty confident that I know how they would work for me in a long run, because the Torin 6s to me feel identical underfoot to the Torin 5s. They have the same 28 millimeters of stack height. Of course, they are in Altra shoes, so they have the foot-shaped toe box. They're zero drop or balance cushioning, as Altra likes to call it, with 28 millimeters of stack height in the forefoot and 28 millimeters in the heel. It's the same Ego Max cushioning as in the Torin 5, and to me the ride is identical. So, and I did several 20+ mile runs in those, in the Torin 5s when I owned them. The Torin 5s lasted me 430 miles. I will say that what ended up being a wear thing for me is I'm heel striking, and I think I scraped my heel a little bit, so I tend to wear out the left sole of the shoes, of a lot of shoes. And the Torin 5s, when I got to about 280 miles, the rubber started wearing out and started flopping off. I started adding shoe goo to them to kind of put down, hold the rubber in place, and then I was able to extend them to 430 miles. When I got to 430 miles, I could have still added some shoe goo and kept going, but I started feeling a little bit of deadening of the midsole after 430 miles. Maybe if I start putting the shoe goo on earlier, it'll protect the midsole a little bit more by protecting the outsole, and maybe I could go a little bit longer, but I was pretty happy with 430 miles. I'm anticipating the sames with the Torin 6. They seem to be wearing in a similar sort of way as the Torin 5s. The upper, they've gone to this, what they call a jacquard knit mesh, which I think doesn't breathe quite as well as the breathable mesh they had in the Torin 5s, but it still has been good. I've been running in it this summer. It's not super hot. It's a comfortable upper, and I like it. I also like their new laces. They changed the heel back here to have one of these tall, thin heels, but it does not affect me at all. Some people say this actually causes it to lock down a little better through the heel for them. For me, I didn't have any trouble with the 5s, and I'm not having trouble with the 6s, so it has been good, been fine with me. The laces are good to me. I've been able to lock down. Now, one of the main issues that was with the Torin 5 is it had a tongue. You can see this thin tongue on it on the Torin 6s, but the tongue on the Torin 5s was very stiff, and it would dig into people's the front of their ankle and cut them, and it did it to me too. So I was able to kind of solve that on the Torin 5s by wearing a mid-weight sock that went up above where the tongue was, and I was able to run in them without any issue. The Torin 6, it still has that thin tongue, and I've heard some people complain that they're still having some issues with it. I can definitely tell it is softer. They have made it some softer, and it's not causing me any issues. I've even had cases where I've worn a fairly thin sock and it doesn't cause me any issues. I don't know though if it might still cause you some issues if you run totally barefoot. Not sure. I really don't quite understand why Altra doesn't go with one of their little bit even softer tongues than this instead of this thin material. They make a really good tongue that's on their Escalantes, on their Vantage Tempos, in several of their shoes. They just like this. I guess maybe it saves a little weight to go with this thinner design. And I'm really not having any issues with it here on the Torin 6. It's definitely softer than it was on the Torin 5. Other than that, that's pretty much my review. They're running exactly the same as the Torin 5s. The underfoot feel is wonderful to me. I love these for long runs and recovery days. They come in at about 9 ounces at a men's size 9. Actually, I guess they're 9.1. The Torin 5s were 9. They added about 1/10 of an ounce, I think, by changing this upper material and by putting in this sort of heel. But you can't tell a difference. The weight feels identical. The ride is still wonderful, very soft, and the way I described it before is it's extremely cushioned and soft, but there's enough responsiveness in the Ego Max that it doesn't make it feel like a real poppy shoe, but there's enough bounce to it that it doesn't feel squishy. Being the soft foam, it's able to still respond enough to where it doesn't feel squishy. So I just find them incredibly comfortable for long and easy day runs. Anyway, that's it on my update on the Altra Torin 6s. I put a little over 100 miles in them. I plan to do over 400 again. I may start a little bit earlier putting shoe goo just because I do tend to wear out this left heel. I do wish the rubber was a little bit more durable, but I mean, I'm still getting 400 miles, and it's not hard to slap a little bit of shoe goo on there every once in a while. Anyway, I hope you found the review interesting or useful. If you did, please consider hitting the thumbs up, the like button. If you're interested in more of my content, please consider subscribing to my channel. And other than that, I hope you're having a great week and keep moving.